Today's video is about one of the most talked about romantic thrillers ever made.
50 Shades of Grey, a film that mixes desire, mystery, power, vulnerability,
And the kind of tension that keeps you hooked from the first moment.
This is not just a story about romance.
It's about control,
Boundaries, emotional fears, and two people trying to understand each other in completely different worlds.
Anastasia Steele is a shy, soft-spoken literature student, introverted, calm, and not used to attention.
When she goes to interview Christian Grey for her friend's college magazine,
Nothing about her feels prepared.
she walks into his towering corporate building, nervous, holding a notebook that almost slips from her hands.
And when the door opens, she meets him, Christian Grey. Young, stylish, confident, a little intimidating.
The kind of man who makes a room fall silent.
Christian notices everything: her awkwardness, her honesty, her innocence.
Instead of being irritated,
He's intrigued. The interview becomes less of a Q&A and more like a game. Christian keeps watching her eyes, her reactions, her curiosity.
Anastasia asks professional questions, but Christian turns the conversation subtle and playful, almost like he's testing her comfort. When she leaves, she expects to forget him, but Christian Grey doesn't forget people who surprise him, and Anastasia Steele just became one of them.
Anastasia returns to normal college life: books, classes, quiet evenings.
But Christian shows up at the hardware store where she works. No warning, no explanation.
Just there. He acts casual, but it's obvious he came for her.
He buys simple items: rope, tape, cable ties, but the way he looks at her says something else entirely.
The chemistry between them is soft but dangerous. She blushes.
He smirks.
He asks personal questions calmly, like he's analyzing her responses. Christian offers to see her again. Anastasia pretends she needs to think about it. But the truth,
A part of her already wants to know more.
he is mysterious, confident, and impossible to read everything she is not.
Their attraction is not loud. It's quiet, slow, and magnetic.
Christian Grey is not a normal romantic hero. He is charming but guarded, successful but lonely,
Open in conversation, but closed in emotion. When Anastasia spends time with him, she notices things. He avoids personal questions. He always stays in control.
His past is locked behind layers of silence.
Christian warns her, "I don't do romance."
But that warning only increases the curiosity. Why not?
What happened to him? What kind of man avoids emotional closeness yet wants her near?
Anastasia feels herself being pulled into a world she doesn't understand. Even Christian seems surprised by how much she affects him: the way she smiles, the way she speaks honestly, the way she looks at him without fear.
For a man who controls everything,
Anastasia Steele becomes the one thing he cannot fully control.
Christian reveals something unusual.
His relationships are based on agreements,
Rules,
boundaries.
limits. He shows Anastasia a formal contract explaining how intense he is, how he separates his emotional world from his physical world.
This moment becomes the center of the entire story. Anastasia is nervous,
Excited, unsure,
but curious. The contract is shocking to her, but not in a way that scares her.
it's bold, unusual, and far beyond anything she's ever heard. Instead of running away, she negotiates. She asks questions. She challenges his ideas. She shows him that she is not someone he can simply shape. And Christian,
He realizes he is different from every person he has ever met.
she softens him. She confuses him.
She awakens parts of him he buried years ago. As they spend more time together, the emotional contrast becomes clear. Anastasia wants affection, closeness, warmth, emotional connection.
Christian wants control, structure, boundaries, and zero vulnerability. Yet they cannot stay away from each other.
Christian buys her a new car
Sends gifts, makes surprise visits.
and protects her with silent intensity.
Anastasia isn't impressed by the wealth. She's drawn to the man behind the walls. They try to understand each other, but every moment between them is a mix of
Attraction, confusion, fear,
curiosity.
and a slow-burning desire. Anastasia begins to see his vulnerability. Christian begins to see her strength. For the first time, Christian behaves outside his own rules. He becomes jealous,
He becomes protective. He becomes emotionally attached.
something he promised himself he would never allow. Anastasia brings out emotions he avoided for years,
She asks about his childhood, about his scars, about the pain he hides behind his cold expression. Christian struggles.
He wants her, but he is afraid that getting close will break him.
The boldness between them increases, but so does the emotional tension.
It's not the intensity that scares Anastasia, it's the fact that he refuses to show his heart.
She doesn't want money. She doesn't want contracts.
She wants him the real Christian, without walls. Their differences reach a peak, not because of attraction, but because Christian is terrified of emotional openness. He wants control. She wants honesty. He wants structure. She wants connection.
Their final argument is powerful, not graphic, not loud, but emotional.
Anastasia realizes Christian is broken in ways she cannot fix.
And Christian realizes he might lose the only person who truly saw him. The tension builds until Anastasia makes a decision.
She steps away.
Not because she doesn't care, but because she hopes he will learn to let go of his fear. Christian is left alone in his silent, perfect,
empty world, realizing too late how much she mattered.
50 Shades of Grey is not just about attraction, it's about fear,
childhood trauma, emotional walls,
and two people trying to understand love from completely opposite directions.
If you want more romantic thriller explanations, subscribe and turn on notifications, new videos coming every week.